So we have been talking about Jim Crow laws and Jim Crow etiquette, and we know that both worked together to codify second-class citizenship for Black people. But it wasn't just about laws, separate bathrooms, separate entrances, separate cemeteries. It was also about mannerisms. Black people had to give white people the right of way on sidewalks and on the streets. They had to behave as though they were inferior, as though they were less intelligent. It was all about making sure white people felt superior, right? Right. Well, in 1954, along comes the Supreme Court verdict of Brown versus the Board of Education that said that separate but equal was a fallacy, that it was unconstitutional, right? That separate facilities for Black people and white people were inherently unequal, right? Schools had to be desegregated, and white people, especially white people in the South, were not having it. And we already know the lengths that they went through to keep the schools from integrating. Yeah. We know about Little Rock 9 and Ruby Bridges, and I suggest that you look up Boston and how grown-ass white men and women threw rocks at school buses full of Black children being bused into white schools. They injured 9 Black children. Yeah. Before and after 1954, there have been stories of white resistance to integration, to Black equality. And I'm going to share a few of them here, And before I do, I like to share tidbits of information, like public opinion polls in the 1940s reported that approximately 2 of every 3 white Americans reportedly supported racially segregated schools, and a majority supported racial discrimination in hiring. A month before President Truman desegregated troops in July 1948, polls showed that 63% of Americans opposed integrating the military. Yeah. August 1944, white transit workers in Philadelphia staged a violent strike after 8 Black men were hired as trolley drivers, a job previously reserved for whites only. In Fontana, California, a Black man named O'Day Short, his wife Helen, and their 2 young children were killed in a December 1945 explosion at their new home after they refused to move out of the formerly all-white neighborhood. And although an NAACP investigation uncovered evidence of arson, police declared the fire an accident and closed the case. After 15 Black civil rights leaders sued Birmingham's Parks and Recreation Board, a federal district judge ruled that Birmingham's segregated facilities and parks were unconstitutional because of a silly little thing called the 14th Amendment, right? Right. So, October 1961, in response to the verdict, right, Birmingham's mayor, Art Haynes, and the city's police commissioner, can you guess who it was? Eugene Bull Connor. No surprise there, really, right? Yeah. They immediately announced the plan to close all of the city parks. Yeah. By December, the city had eliminated the funding to almost all of the parks, and they closed 67 of them, along with 38 playgrounds, 4 golf courses, and 8 swimming pools. You heard me correctly. Instead of integrating, like the courts told them to, they essentially defunded parks and recreation. I know how that sounded, yeah. But they defunded parks and recreation, and they closed 67 parks, 38 playgrounds, 4 golf courses, and 8 swimming pools.